out the 411. I'm back for another What's Good episode. I'm here with Benjamin Elias. How are you doing, Benjamin? On this show, I always ask people what's good. So how have you been and how's your mental health?
Kayla, well, thank you so much for having me. Um, and glad you asked. I'm doing really well. Feeling good. That's actually I'm based in Israel, so it's 2 in the morning right now, but it's no time like the present. So it's great to be on.
Thanks, girl.
Sorry,
How long have you been there?
been living here for 10 years.
Oh, wow. So that's pretty much home now. Wow. Well, thank you so much for staying up late and being on my show. And I'm so happy. And hopefully, people over here in the US will discover your music and fall in love with you. Now, take me back to the beginning when you started music. I'm always intrigued to know what was it for you where you realized, okay, music, I have to take this seriously.
Yeah, so I came from a background of writing. I've always been really passionate about words and storytelling. Kind of my initial goal in life was to be a fiction writer. So I was really passionate about that. And around the time I was 18 or 19, I really fell in love with hip hop.
Hmm.
I think the first album I heard that really blew my mind was Kendrick Lamar. And
What?
yeah, and second I heard that, I heard Kendrick. I just fell in love with hip hop, and I realized that was something I was fascinated by and wanted to pursue myself. Of course, it went a lot further than that. I started listening to a lot of old school rap. Um, it's getting to know the genre as much as possible. So I think that's the moment it started for me, and from there I've been creating music and trying to put myself out there.
Now, where you are based out in Israel, like what is the music scene out there? Is hip hop like really big influence out there?
So it's interesting. It's a good question. So hip hop is becoming a lot more popular out here.
Mhm.
I would say that in the last few years, it's become one of the leading genres. Probably the most popular music here is like Middle Eastern, more ethnic music, but hip
Mhm.
hop is becoming more popular. The challenge for me is my music is in English because I'm originally from the US, so that's my native language, and
Mhm.
it's not the native language out here. So, looking to connect with fans abroad.
How has it been adjusting out there? Are you able to speak the language good now? I would think so, being out there 10 years now, right?
Yeah, of course. So I speak fluently. I speak Hebrew, but I'm in terms of my writing and my art, I'm it's much more natural for me in English, and that's a big part of my artistry. So
Wow, that's amazing. I think you may be the first international guest I've had on this show. Like, I'm
that's
so
cool. Eh?
happy. Yeah, this is my birthday month. I'm doing 28 Days of Kayla. So, your interview will be a part of that. So, I'm so excited, especially me being, I love all genres of music. And I love having people on there who have different backgrounds, just explaining your story. Now, Benjamin, I'm pretty sure people are going to be watching my show and they're going to be like, hip hop artist. Like, he doesn't look like the stereotypical hip hop artist. So, go ahead and tell everyone about your love for writing and how it transitioned into hip hop because there's a story behind it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this is a great question so far. So happy to dive in there. Also, happy birthday. Um, so I think that to to something I'm probably gonna answer a lot, or throughout my pursuit of music, people are definitely gonna come up that I don't look like a typical hip hop artist.
Mhm.
I think it's a great thing. I spent a year living in New York when I first started pursuing music, um, really discovering hip hop, going to venues, talking to people, listening to all types of music. And I think the fact that I look a little bit different and stand out isn't necessarily a bad thing. Kind of what I took away from that experience is that it's a lot of what hip hop is just being yourself.
Right.
And of course, understanding the roots of hip hop and where hip hop comes from is really important.
Mhm.
So I actually have a line in an upcoming song where I say justifying my time in rhyming with the person I am. And I think that sums it up really well because I think I'm really passionate about words. I'm passionate about um, telling my story, and hip hop is a great way to do that. And of course, it's really always important to learn the culture and also understand not only where it meets me, but where it meets other people, which is something I'm always trying to do.
Yes, and just listening to your music, I've always felt like hip hop is poetry. That's why I always kind of applaud artists who are rappers and they write their own music because I feel like you're telling a story but in musical form. And you actually kind of touched on that going into the next question. I know you just put out an album called Prana, right? Is that how
Yeah,
you pronounce it? Prana? And
yeah,
it pretty much tells the story of what it feels like to truly live in the now. And I heard you wrote this project in a week. Is that true?
yeah. So, well, I would say it's like 95% true because I
Hmm.
wrote the project in a week. Of course, I went back and I edited it, and it was one song that I originally wrote and I changed a little bit down the line. But I would say like the 95% of the base of the project was in 1 week.
Now, what was the whole thought behind this project from the title to naming the songs? Like, what was the whole process and creative mindset going into it?
So yeah, prana is from Sanskrit. It means life force. So during COVID, life had really slowed down, and I had a lot more time to focus on myself and who I want to be, where I want to go. Not just as a musician, but just really thought about this question as a person. And I started doing yoga, which was something really really powerful, very spiritual for me, and that led me to want to create an album that told that same story about as you said before about what it really feels like to be in the now and have that spiritual awakening. So that was the inspiration behind the album. And then the second I kind of felt that energy, it was really easy for me to create it because I knew the stories I wanted to tell and I just had to sit down and write. So that's why I was able to come out so quickly.
Wow, and I'm so glad you brought up COVID too, because I feel like a lot of creatives this is what I've heard so far from this show. Some creators they felt really stuck. They felt like, well, I can't go out and do shows. Like, what am I supposed to do? I have to get on social media. I'm an introvert. I can't do that. Then artists like myself, I felt like I've made some of the best shows and work during the pandemic because all I had to do was just sit in the house and create. So, how did you handle the pandemic from a creative aspect?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the pandemic because it's I guess ironic to say, but I have to say it was probably the best time of my life.
Mhm.
As you said, where a lot of creators felt the same way. It took an adjustment period, of course, as like the first month or two was very shocking, especially as an artist, not being able to perform, not really being able to go to the studio was kind of shocking. But after that initial period passed, it became, I have to say, a huge blessing. And I think the biggest thing that I was able to take from COVID, which of course is difficult to say because it's not necessarily an easy thing or not hard to say it's a good thing that happened, but the positive side for it for myself was it gave me the chance to reevaluate my life. And I actually talk about this in Prana in the first song, where I say 2 months inside, and I started to find that I got some questions about who am I.
Come
So
on.
yeah,
Yes. I love that. It really, I kind of went through a stage, and I know I'm here in the US. I'm based out in Atlanta, Georgia. So for people who are maybe just coming into the interview when you watch it, he is based out in Israel. Now, I just want to know, like, what was the environment there? Like, how bad was COVID? Because I don't think a lot of people here in the US really understand what other countries were going through.
yeah, it's I mean, so in Israel we're a much smaller country than the US. Obviously, I mean the whole population of Israel is around like 8 or 9 million. So, and if you live in Atlanta or in Georgia, is already just that one state is bigger than all of Israel. So, at first, the panic here, I think, like everywhere else, was at a very high level. And the first few months, everything was just completely shut down for probably about 2 months. But something about Israeli culture is that we can be very rambunctious or not necessarily super obedient when it comes to rules. It's kind of our
Us too.
mentality.
It's okay, us
So
too. That's why everybody was out here partying, Benjamin. It's okay.
yeah,
Everyone here too.
yeah. So kind of for the first 2 months, everything was shut down, and then um, and then quickly everything opened up again. And then things kind of got bad, and then they started to try and make more restrictions, but people were just out doing whatever they wanted, kind of anyway. The thing that we're lucky for is Israel was pretty much the first country to really get vaccinated. I think even way before the U.S. So we
Yeah.
were able to get back a little bit faster than most countries.
Wow. So it just to clarify, like, did you not get it? Did your family get it? Is everybody okay?
Yeah, we were well, actually a lot of people got it in my family, but luckily everybody was vaccinated and everybody was okay. Um, my parents got it, my sister got it, but really everyone's fine. I actually didn't get it, so
Okay.
but
Yeah, same
we're
too.
all
I'm
good.
thankful. And I like
Yeah, you
asking
good?
for all that too, because I think a lot of people are affected by it different ways. And what I've started doing once the pandemic hit is just asking everybody, are you okay? Because sometimes when you ask people, how are you? They're not okay. And just by you asking, that just makes them feel a little better. So let's go ahead and get into your creative process. As a creative myself, I want to know what kind of artist are you? Are you a solo writer or do you feel more comfortable with a team of people around you that inspires you?
Yeah, okay. So another good question, and the honest answer is it depends. It really depends on the project. It depends on the song and what I'm trying to go through. I think that in my style, I'm a little bit more naturally lenient towards being a solo creator. My music is quite personal, and I'm telling very personal stories. So I enjoy writing mostly, usually I'd say by myself, but I
Mhm.
also work with a team of producers. I work with various producers depending on the song. So I also love working with my producers and getting their feedback. And sometimes I have a good idea, but bouncing it off of somebody else just makes it even better.
I agree. I always, because I'm a solo person, I always said that artists sometimes need to have somebody around them to kind of hear it before you put it out into the world, because the world is very ruthless. You'll think something is amazing and you put it out there and people can hear something that's not right. So I like the fact that you actually have producers who actually understand the sound, that's able to give you great advice. And where do you pull your inspiration from with a lot of these songs? Because on the album, you was really getting deep and personal on a lot of the songs. Is it from your own personal experiences or friends or just imagination?
Yeah, so I think it's a combination. It's very important for me all my music to be personal and to be genuine. As I kind of said before, just to be myself. That's the most important thing for me when I'm creating. But I was inspired to do that by a lot of great artists and by hip hop culture in general, where artists have been doing that in creative ways for a long time.
Right.
And I try and surround myself also by people that have that same energy.
Mhm.
And it's also something I also talk about a little bit on the album. But it's really important for me to surround myself with because there's a lot of people in the world and a lot of different people who create music. So it's important for me for my team to be the people that are genuine and are honest also with themselves.
Yes, I agree because I feel like these days in the music industry, you'll come into a situation yourself, but sometimes in the music industry, they have a dark side where 5, 10 years later, you won't even recognize who you are. You can just wake up and be like, I don't even know who I am. I don't know the music that I'm making. And I feel like that's a lot unfortunate for a lot of artists when they get themselves in that. So I feel like you're at a point where you know who you are and you have a great team around you. So I feel like that right there is just a blessing in itself. So now we're going to have some fun, Benjamin. I'm going to ask you a few questions just to get to know you a little better. Okay. So when you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and start the sentence off and you just finish it. Okay.
All right.
Now, do you prefer beach or mountain views?
I was born in Colorado, so the mountain. Gotta say
That's why.
mountain.
That's why I asked you
Yeah.
that question. I know you have a album called, is it called Colorado Boy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah.
Next, pen or freestyle?
Freestyle.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, the only person I know that can really master that is Lil Wayne. He's gotten to the point where he can't even remember some of his lyrics. Have you experienced that sometimes where you're like, okay, I do not remember what I just said?
Um, I like to freestyle and write. My writing process is sort of freestyling.
Mhm.
So I haven't, but I haven't reached that point yet. Once I have Lil Wayne's discography, then maybe we'll get there. He's got a
Right.
lot of songs. So
So next, what is your favorite song you ever wrote and why?
um, it's a hard one, but I'll go with a song from Prana, which is called Time/Nueva. It's a song. It's a two-part song with a beat switch, which I always love when there's beat switches. So I think that's probably my favorite one, at least at this moment.
Okay. And next, would you prefer going out or staying home?
Also a tough one. but I lean with staying home, you know, writing
Okay.
music, having some time to myself was always great.
And last, what are three words that you would use to describe your music?
Honest, unique, and deep.
Ah, I like that. And that's exactly what I get when I listen to your music. So we're going to go ahead and keep rolling now. How has it been navigating throughout the music industry, especially having such a positive approach to hip hop and you're very spiritual? Like, has it been
Yeah.
difficulty?
So okay, that's a really like also a really interesting question because it's something I actually just spoke about the other day with a friend. But
Hmm.
I think that um, I think there's a lot of people in hip hop, a lot of different people, and you know, talking about of you know money and a lot of materialistic things. And I kind of think the
Things,
next,
things they don't have. It's okay, Benjamin. I'll say it for you.
yeah, okay, but yeah, exactly, or things they don't have, or again, I think just things that are very materialistic. And I think it's a common trend in hip hop. Of course, it's not everybody, but
Mhm.
you see things, and it's not just hip hop. It's the music industry today is going in that direction. And I think that the next wave of music is going to be more positive, more spiritual, because I think people are becoming more interested in these themes. You know, I can say that since I released Prana, which is a very spiritual album, like most common feedback I've got from people is I like the album and the concept is really, really cool. Because I think people are fascinated by these things now because it's something that's missing from our lives. You know, I have to say I'm not, you know, I don't necessarily believe in God, but you know, I think that spirituality and living the day to day in a spiritual sense is really important, and that's a subject that fascinates people today. So creating music that's like that is maybe like on the next wave, and I'm really hoping that you know, yeah, it's like when the music industry, it's not necessarily what people are looking to hear, but I also say it's not, you don't necessarily have to make music that people are looking to hear. You know, maybe you can make the music that people don't know they need.
Exactly. There's always an audience for everyone. And I agree with you also. I feel like social media has honestly played a big part in a lot of people, our generation. We are experiencing spirituality, you know, different than what our parents may have had. And I look at it as a great way. And I think our future children, I can just imagine like what they're going to be like because they're also tapping into spirituality. I feel like once you tap into that, you're just a powerful person in general. So that's why I love the whole name and the whole approach that you have on the album. When I went to listen, I was like, okay, of course I got to have him on because I want to know more about this entire project. Now, I am big on manifestation. Okay, I believe that if you say something's going to come true. So, what is one goal that you have for yourself as an artist? We're going to speak it now so they can come true.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm also big on manifestation. It's like also talk about it a lot on the album, so I'm glad you brought that up. I think that the my long-term goal is to be an all-time great artist. So
Mhm.
I know that that's a long process, and the artists that did that put in hours of work over years. So I'm here for the long run, and I
Mhm.
think that's the long term goal. And kind of the short term goal is I really want to be performing at festivals in the next couple of years.
Mhm.
So
I
that's
can
what
see
I'm
that
working towards now.
happening next year. I can see that next year, especially over here. Oh my gosh, all these festivals are popping back out. I got a feeling it's going to happen next summer for you, a festival, a big festival.
That would be awesome. Speak it into existence.
Yeah,
I
I feel
appreciate it.
it. Now you
Yeah.
have been working a lot, Benjamin. I actually went on your YouTube and you've been putting out music video. I think you just put out one called Before Cali. You put out a few more before then. What can we expect from you for the rest of the year in 2022?
So yeah, I'm glad you checked out the channel and liked, you know, saw the work because that's something that I think a lot of people who know me will unanimously say about me is that I work hard and I put out a lot of music.
Mhm.
Um, so going forward, I have another video for Prana for this album that's already ready to go. I'm just waiting for a few more weeks after before Cali, so there's a little space between them. So that one will be coming out, and then I actually have another album that's ready to go that's going to be released in December. And it completes a trilogy. So this year I released an album called Colorado Boy, which we spoke about in February, and now I have
Mhm.
Prana. And then this album is going to be called Buried Treasure, and it's about the future. So it's a trilogy about the past, present, and future. Each
Oh
one
my
is
God. gosh, that is
Yeah.
so clever. That reminds me of how the weekend did that. Like you put a lot of thought process in there. And for a creative like myself, I pay attention to those. I didn't realize that. Wow. Okay, so Colorado was about the past, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Prana's the present, and then the buried treasure will be about the future. Yeah.
That okay, perfect. So it seems like my questions kind of lined up perfectly, especially talk about manifestation, what you plan for yourself with the goals. And I want to say thank you so much, Benjamin, for being on What's Good segment. And how was that? Chill, easy, simple.
Yeah, it was really fun. Really enjoyed. Also, really, I really appreciated. I felt that the questions were targeted towards me. Like, it
Mhm.
wasn't just like questions you were reading off of, like a stock questions. You really spent the time to ask personal questions. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love that, Benjamin. I have been on other people's shows too. And it always felt like I was in a job interview. And I don't like making you all feel that way. I feel like the great part about my show is people feel comfortable. You feel like you're talking to a friend, and I like making you all feel that way. And then plus, I feel like this is the interview that you all have before a lot of you all like really hit your big break. So a lot of your fans are always gonna come back to like those early interviews. They're gonna be like, oh wow. And a lot of artists that's been on this show, they are experiencing a lot of successes now. So people always come back. So I like to make this more
Yeah.
fun so fans can be like, okay, I understand Benjamin a lot more now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we talked about manifestation, so hoping to manifest that my future fans will come check out this show and kind of get a scope into what my mindset was like. So that's awesome.
Yes.